Time now for Media Watch with James Creedon. Good evening, James.
Hi, Delano.
Well, you're starting out over in the United States where the US President Donald Trump has taken his victory lap at the White House.
He has, and I'll start with this cartoon from the Belgian cartoonist Lecter. Welcome to the divided states of America, because I think that is really the takeaway from all of the noise, all of the cacophony, all of the political theatre that we've been seeing during and in the aftermath of impeachment and then acquittal. So we saw today Donald Trump hailing the acquittal, lashing out at his evil and corrupt opponents. I mean, never has, well, in living memory, I would say, American politics been quite so divided. Going back to yesterday and the images that have accompanied all of this denouement to impeachment and acquittal. Nancy Pelosi, you'll remember, she ripped up the State of the Union address. Now, if we could take a look at a New York Post zoom on that, it appears that she sort of prepared that moment. She sort of had pre-ripped those sheets in order that the dramatic shareable viral moment would go off well, which it did indeed. I'll get back to the present moment, but just to kind of go through all of this. Nancy Pelosi shouldn't have torn up the speech. No need to lower oneself in response to Trump's dishonourable character, writes one commentator. Donald Trump himself retweeted scores of comments about Nancy Pelosi having ripped up the speech. For example, this is pure gold because she's the one parading how immature and childish the president is. But then look how she acted last night. And so Donald Trump is repeating that. Then Donald Trump on the front page of the New York Post today, it's his turn to rip up impeachment. The acquitted prez gets last laugh on Pelosi. This is the level of politics in one of the world's great superpowers today. It's just all spectacle, and in fact the fact that Nancy Pelosi, I suppose, is playing that game, you could argue that everybody ends up in the sandpit. And you can see that Donald Trump has been able to just, use the fact that there was so much spite against him for legitimate reasons to just parade around and as the victor in this epic moment of political theatre. So there you go. Nancy Pelosi let herself get out trumped. And yes, sorry, what I was going to... Yeah,
I think she tried to beat him at his own game, but then he manages to come out on top and look the victor.
Right.
Speaking of which, despite this whole impeachment process, he's come out stronger than ever.
That's it. And it's what some said they were fearful of with the whole impeachment process, that it could act, he could, present himself as the victim of, as he has done, calling his opponents corrupt and evil and whatnot. And what we're seeing now, this is an interesting piece of analysis coming out of that. Nate Silver in 538, looking forward, saying, well, the 2020 election is going to be now an all-out partisan war, and really Trump is emboldened. And if he wins the second term, what other democratic norms and values will he now flout, seeing as so many have already been flouted? And guess what? He's playing with that very image of the fear that he could become a total autocrat and a dictator. With this, which was one of his it's penned at the top of his Twitter account at the moment. It's a riff off a Time magazine front page, which imagines that he's sort of going to become a president for life. But he's playing with that fear. He knows that fear is there, and he's trolling the legitimate fear on the other side of the aisle, if you like, that he could become emboldened by this. So he's just, I suppose. This is becoming like a reality TV show, and he is one of the star players, and it's about audience, it's about images. It's not about intelligent politics anymore.
Well, besides whether or not he stands for election in another 4 years' time, he has offspring, so who knows if that's an extension.
Right.
Moving on, switching topics next, because we can keep talking about Donald Trump for a long time. Yes. To Germany next, where state premier who was voted into office quit, presumably with after the rumours that he had been backed by the AfD party.
That's right. So this is Thomas Kemmerich, and he's become a real whipping boy on German Twitter in the last 24 hours. King for a day, fool for a lifetime. So voted in as premier in Thuringia, the land or state of Thuringia, Lander, with AfD, or kind of, I suppose, far-right support. Now, he because of the backlash, he said, all right, look, we're going to have new elections. I'm bowing to this pressure. I'm not going to remove the stain of their support, so to speak. it became sort of toxic on German social media in the sense that everybody, there was an awful lot of criticism of him for apparently being, forming some sort of, or at least accepting the support of the AfD. There was even this hashtag FCK, which is a play on the English word which looks similar to it, and AfD and FDP, which are the two parties put together. So there was a lot of visual sort of criticism. And also this, maybe our friends in Europe do not know, but in 1930, the first collaboration between Nazis and other parties, including liberals, was formed in Thuringia. And so you had politicians such as Die Linke's Bodo Ramelow actually pulling out images of that time. You also had Guy Verhofstadt sort of making that historical comparison, which, if, as you can imagine, very quickly there was a response from the AfD, basically saying these Nazi comparisons are stink. We're for a law-based state. We're for pluralism and for Jewish life in our countries. Okay. I'll just finish with this because there was a moment where a leftist politician threw flowers at his feet in a moment of protest, and that has been compared, Delano, with another moment across the Atlantic. Some people saying
goes full circle.
It's all about the viral image these days.
It's all about the image. James, thank you very much for that. James Cruden there with Media Watch.